Gonna throw it. Slant. This bug's for you, Mizzou.
They are carving up this LSU defense.
You don't get no better than that, man.
Now Cook's gonna throw the deep ball, and Burton's past the defense. Touchdown, Luther Burton. 47 yards.
Place kick is up. It is. Yes. Oh, a walk-off winner from 61. Harrison Mevis.
This is the Mizzodcast.
Howdy, Tiger fans, and welcome to the Mizzodcast. I'm your host, Brendan Anthony. Joining me, as always, is my longtime brother, Colin Anthony.
What's up, dum-dums? What's up?
There was a football game, I hear, this weekend, Colin.
There was, and I have things to say about said football game.
Yeah, well, let's just get into the nuts and bolts of it now. Missouri beat the Kansas Jayhawks this weekend, 42-31.
Yes, we did.
It's been 14 years in the making, and I can't think of a better day.
No, it was fantastic, and I put the sentiment on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, but it is a dangerous thing as a Mizzou fan to buy in, to completely buy in. Like, we've had teams we thought were pretty good. I think last year we had a lot of optimism with Cook and Burden, and but I was never like truly bought in. I'm buying hard on this team, and I know it was Kansas, and that you think, oh, that's not that big of an opponent. You're right, they're not that great. But they are a good offensive team, and the defense kind of had their way. I mean, what was the yardage? It was 254 total for Kansas to over 500 for Mizzou, and I think they had 3 yards rushing. I mean, I saw the defense getting dogged a little bit online. I'm like, dude, they did not dial up any pressure in this game. They played a soft zone for most of it. So I want to start here with the offense basically and say, like, we have, like, Pribula is for real. Like, he was making throws. He was throwing people open. Like, so Brady Cook was a guy who you could scheme a guy open and Brady Cook could hit that throw. But throwing back shoulders at sidelines for first downs, they were just throws that Cook just simply wouldn't have tried. I'm not trying to throw shade at Cook, but like Pribula did things in this game that Cook just doesn't do. And you know, I don't think I'm insulting Brady Cook to say that. Norfleet is going to end up an All-American. Hardy's for real. Jamal Roberts is wonderful. We're 4 deep at wide receiver, 4 deep, plus a tight end.
Kevin Coleman makes catches, Colin, that you talk about a quarterback that just had, sort of the natural fit compared to Brady Cook, who had to build it. Coleman, like the catch he made on a long 4th down with just completely covered. He brought that in a way that you're like, that's an NFL catch.
And you can just see it in the way that these guys carry themselves. Like, there's not any doubt in their minds that they can do these things. It's a scary thought, but I'm sitting here watching this offense, and at times people were getting upset, being like, oh, he's running too much, or he's doing this and that. What I saw was a team that seemed to be able to turn the passing game on and off like a faucet and pump the brakes on the offense by running to give the defense a blow, which is something we wanted. When Josh Heupel was our offensive coordinator, we used to beg him to do this. Like, you got to quit scoring in 47 seconds. What a terrible thing to have to complain about. Mm-hmm. But by the end of the game, our defense was just waxed, fucking just done. And they weren't all that talented anyway. And then just by the 4th quarter, we're just getting destroyed by people because there was no gas left in the tank. I feel like Drinkowitz was running strategically, and it's dangerous. It's a dangerous thing to do, to throttle your offense. But it also speaks to a confidence you have to have in the offense to throttle it, to pump the brakes. I think Drink may be driving a Ferrari, and I think he might know it. The same with the defense. Like, we were in the soft zone, and there aren't words enough in this world for me to express how much I hate zone defense. And part of the problem with when we were running that zone is no zone holds up for 8 seconds. We were getting no pass rush. But in retrospect, watching a little later, I'm looking at this and I'm watching the defensive line sort of push at the quarterback and sort of run a contain almost to keep him from running around, I think. And without pressure, the zone wasn't holding up. But then later in the game, suddenly, Wilson is rushing and getting there. The line is chasing him around. And I think at that point, they're like, well, they've set the dogs loose. So again, now they're deciding, like, okay, we're going to play this kind of defense, but when it's time to dial it up, we can. It's a switch we can throw. It's not just hey, we got to do what we can do on every down just to make the game work. This is a team that is just making conscientious, strategic decisions about how they want to do the game plan, where they want to do things, how they want to do them, and because they're so confident that they can do them. And I think it's simply because we finally have an SEC roster. And I don't mean that we haven't had SEC-worthy rosters, but when you look at teams like Alabama and Georgia, what these teams really bring to the table every year is a fucking roster from top to bottom that has 4- and 5-star athletes, no 3-star turds in the punch bowl. And so you got this situation where you can't roll coverage to everyone when everyone is good enough to start. I mean, you got 4 receivers, any 2 of the 4, really 5 could start. And then you like Hardy, for instance, he didn't play a lot in the end of the game, but I think it was, again, strategic. I think they used him like a big, giant battering ram for 3 quarters against Kansas, knowing that Kansas just physically doesn't have the athletes. And so they clubbed him with Hardy. And then once Kansas is beat up and tired and war slick, then Roberts becomes the guy they're going to go with, because now these guys are a step slow. They're beat up and Hardy has fucking pummeled them in submission, and then
And Roberts is essentially fresh.
Yeah, and Roberts is fresh, and he's just blowing people's doors off. And again, I don't think it was. Now, it's possible because Hardy put the fucking ball on the ground twice. The second time they called him down so that it didn't really count as a fumble, but he was a little fast and loose with the football, so maybe it was punishment. But my hope is that Rinkowitz is like, okay, bring in the speed back because we have effectively, pummeled Kansas's front 7 for 3 quarters.
Based on how he used them against Central Arkansas, I think that is probably the more likely option, is that it's not a punishment. It's that he sees 2 capable backs and he's going to use them both this year.
And again, making decisions strategically about when to use them and how the best way to use them is against the opponent we're playing. Again, maybe I'm projecting all this. I'm trying to speak it into existence, but I think some of the complaints I was seeing online about the team, I was like, I'm not sure those are complaints, guys. I'm not saying that what you're saying wasn't right, but I'm not sure what you're seeing wasn't by design. So the only real series I had a problem with was like late in the 3rd or maybe early in the 4th. We just ran like 3 straight ran down the middle 3. It was in the 4th. We just ran down the middle like 3 straight times and immediately had to punt. I'm like, come on, there's way too much time left to be in clock burning mode right now. And, Kansas's quarterback Daniels is legit.
Yep.
And that tight end is legit. I mean, they should be legit. They're both collectively, 84 years old.
I always worry about underdog teams that have a very experienced quarterback. Yeah.
And they made a lot of hay running guys up the seam, because that, when you're playing the cover 2 zone, that's how you beat it, the seam, and so you run somebody right up the middle, and we got burned on that some. But again, I didn't see hardly any blitzing. And my presumption is that it's not that we're just on the defense that's not going to blitz. It's just that, like, hey, this is a game we don't need to blitz, so why show South Carolina what we can do? Trotter looks fantastic. Now, he kind of disappeared for the middle part of the game, but he makes a lot of plays. I don't think there's any reason to be critical of the defense. I think what you ran into was a team that is basically a quarterback. And they were just kind of, hey, let's go into this zone. Let's make him throw. Let's contain him because his legs are his real, so because the problem with rushing a guy like him is he's going to scramble all over you, and he's going to be getting 30-yard chunks on you, and it's going to be demoralizing for your defense. So they were just kind of keep it in front of us, keep it in front of us, keep it in front of us. And then at the end of the game, when it's nut cutting time, okay, now we're going to dial up the pressure because this guy hasn't seen it all game, and there's a situation where it's dangerous to run. 1, you could fumble. 2, the running makes the clock run. So he's in a situation where he has to pass, so he can't get away with using his legs on every down. And then we dial up the pressure, and the last couple possessions for Kansas, they just were completely inept on offense. Listen, it's an exciting time to be a Tiger fan. I know it. I'm buying in so hard. It's 2 games in, and I'm probably going to have my heart shattered. I get it. But
we'll know in 2 weeks.
I think we have a soup to nuts SEC roster. Again, no 3-star turds in the punch bowl, and that's not an insult to 3-star, but those guys have been sprinkled throughout our roster and had to have been throughout the years. But Drinkwitz has recruited well, and everybody he's bringing into the portal is top shelf. And listen, my only real concerns is the offensive line. And if there's one position group on a football team that can collectively get better throughout a season, it's definitely an offensive line. They can gel. They can find their footing. They've obviously had a lot of transition all the way up to the very beginning of the season. We're changing who's going to play left tackle. We're moving our guards around. Some certain guys are getting reps. It takes time to play side by side with these guys and sort of build a choreography with another human being. And that's something that can definitely happen with experience. And so it was fantastic. The accuracy that Pribula throws with is insane. Let's see, I wrote it down here. Currently, he is thrown for 617 yards. He's 53 for 67 with 5 TDs and no interceptions. He's been everything you could have wanted him to be. The fumble was a tough thing in the game. But another thing about this team, it reminded me of watching Mizzou play on Alabama or Georgia in the past, where maybe you get on them early and then you're just holding on to this lead with both fucking hands. It's we're up 20-6 on Alabama.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I remember I felt that way when we beat Georgia in Georgia 2013.
And it's but slowly but surely the athletes went out, and by the end of the game, it's hey, you gave this blue chip program a run, but at the end of the day,
yeah, they beat you by 10 points.
Yeah, the horses win. It's the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's. And we were watching the highlights earlier and talking about how good Norfleet is, and wow, does Drinkwitz finally using a tight end? I was again, I'm giving credit to Drinkwitz and thinking the last few years, maybe when we were critical of him not using tight ends, just simply because he didn't have the tight end. It's hey guys, I'll use a tight end when I've got somebody worthy of using, but I just simply don't have the horses. And now that he's got it, he uses it. And to use a golf analogy, I was watching, before the U.S. Open, they were talking about the Scotty Scheffler's game set up for this course. And if you're not a golf fan, he's the best golfer in the world. And one of the commentators said, when you hit it straight every time, your game fits every golf course. And when you've got these kind of horses, suddenly every offense works. And so where sometimes we felt like maybe Drinkwitz was being too conservative, or it's another fucking bubble screen, or what, why don't we throw to the middle of the field? Where's the tight end? Well, you know what I saw? I saw Coleman making catches in the middle of the field. I saw the tight end making catches in the middle of the field. Suddenly you've got guys that can work the middle of the field, and you can trust, and you got a guy you can deliver the football. Yeah. And I saw a very complete, very talented football team. And maybe it's overblown because it was clear that we had better athletes than Kansas, but I feel like we're going to have a lot of better athletes than a lot of teams.
Yeah. What you're saying is a lowly Big 12 school.
Yeah. But again, I think Kansas is a good offensive team.
No, Kansas, it was kind of win that it was 10 points and it was back and forth. It was a back and forth game. We won by 10, but it was a back and forth game. It wasn't decided until about 4 minutes left in the game. Anyway, I don't think a close win over Kansas is going to be scoffed at, because Kansas is respected enough, even though they're unranked, that they know that, and they did this last year. They played the spoiler role several times. Mm-hmm. They ended up just with a 5-7 record, but they were clearly a program on the rise. So I think even a close win over Kansas would be respected, and it's certainly a 10-point win like we had is, it got us ranked. We're in the top 25 in the AP.
Well, I think there's a world where if we had thrown as much as sometimes I think the fans would have liked us to, where we could have scored a lot more points. But I also think there's that in that world that maybe Kansas scores a little more too, because again, you may have gassed your defense a little bit. But Kansas is is a respectable program, as much as it pains me to say it. And I can't believe, I saw online people just coming at Leopold, and maybe he shouldn't have punted that football. But guys, your program was a fucking corpse for several years. Dead, like losing to the cupcake letter schools at the beginning of your season. Bearcats were beating you regularly. And this guy has made you relevant, at least in the Big 12, which granted is not that high a bar, but still. Yeah. I mean, from where you were at,
0-12.
This guy,
0-12.
This guy resurrected a program that I didn't know if could be resurrected.
It was bad.
And so, you guys better hold on this cat with both fucking hands. I don't care if he plays a little conservative. So quickly we forget, you guys, it's crazy that they're on this guy. And honestly, in the beginning of the game, I felt like, Mizzou was getting a little out coached for a bit. I think they had a good game plan. They were really hyped up, but there was sort of once I started watching this game and the way Prater was throwing the ball, there just felt like there was a sort of inevitability.
Yes, easy for you to say.
It's a tough word. And we were just erosion. You can try to stop it. You can put up the sandbags. You can do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, it's inevitable. And a real Thanos situation had going on. And so watching this game, it was close for the most of the game. And at times we were down. And I was never screaming at the TV like, what are you doing? Fuck! You know what I mean? I was like, we'll be okay. Everything's looking good. And I'd say for two reasons, more than any reasons, I just remained optimistic, was Hardy and Pribula. I was like, Hardy and Roberts. I don't want to forget them, but the running game was good, and Pribula was just, dude. If he plays another game like this, and then let's say we go to South Carolina, he has a good inning. How can you not start talking Heisman? I know this is fucking crazy, but
it's a lot of ifs getting there.
Yeah, ifs and buts, candy and nuts. I get it, but I'm just saying, I think it's okay to admit that I think I see something with this team. They might be really good. I don't know. Again, we'll learn more, but if there's anything, when I'm watching games, I pay attention as much as anything to what the athletes are doing individually. When you're watching on television, it's easy just to see the whole game and not really see anything. But there's just particular plays where I'm just following guys across the screen, and there's people are open, and we're being able to do whatever we want at certain positions on the field that may be away from the ball, and I'm just like, we might be good. Anyway,
it's a proposition I'm not accustomed to.
Well, and I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't believe it. I legitimately think this is the best roster I've seen Drinkwitz have. Full stop. I think even the offensive line being questionable is probably at least equivalent to offensive lines we had 2 and 3 years ago that we may not have thought were that bad. They're just by comparison right now to the rest of the fucking team, maybe a little shakier, but I still think they're probably better than we're giving them credit for, just based on the talent around them being so good. So I don't know.
Well, it was a fun game to be at because it was a back and forth game. The weather was beautiful. Obviously, everybody was excited. SEC Nation was in town for the entirety of basically Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and so it was an atmosphere that in some ways reminded me of 2010 when we were on game day against Oklahoma when they were number 1 in the country. It wasn't it wasn't as big as that, obviously, on a national perspective, but the passion and the emotion in Columbia, I felt like was on a par with it. And so it was a big deal. And obviously we had the fumble, and then they scored another touchdown. We were down 21-6, and that was the low point in that game. But like you were saying, Colin, well, the way I looked at it was, I won't say that I wasn't altogether scared when we were down 21-6, but I felt like it's a turning point where it's like, it's either one of those games that gets away from you and just nothing can fucking work, or it's one of these games where it's like, okay, you got punched in the mouth, and then one of your studs makes a big play, and suddenly you're only down by a score, and then next thing you know, you build, and that's kind of the way it ended up being, even though it wasn't just a skyrocket above Kansas. It was back and forth. But ultimately, our guys, Kansas looked beat up.
Well, it reminded me of a couple of years ago, maybe. I don't know, we were in Kentucky. And I remember I was watching the game in a bar, and like they immediately returned a kick at the beginning of the game. It was supposed to be a big game because Kentucky thought they were good, and we thought we were good. And we got down in a hurry, and we came back, which was not something that I was accustomed to watching Mizzou do, and ended up ultimately winning that game handily. And I just thought, man, we don't usually come back when a team gets on us like this. Mm-hmm. And that was what we did against Kansas. Like I was just like, I always am skeptical of teams that are using flukes or turnovers to score big points. The turnovers are huge, don't get me wrong, but like when Oklahoma played us last year, they were fucking running gadget plays, and they were really having to open the playbook to figure out how to beat us. And they almost did. But what I saw them doing isn't sustainable because it's not like a real offense. Or even when you're gadgeting, you're desperate. And
once it's exposed once, you can't really use those things again.
And so and that was the way I felt like in the first half. I'm like, yeah, we're down 6-20, but like we had to fumble to get this. We've had kind of stepped on our dick to let them be in this position, but they haven't really done anything. And then you go looking at their stats and what they had. Again, 260 yards, 61 yards total, 3 yards rushing, and they only had the ball for 19 minutes. They weren't really in this game nearly as much as the score would have indicated. So I was like, they can't sustain this. Like Pribula's not going to fumble the ball into somebody's tummy again. You're going to get that one time. And so if you're lucky, so like that's not sustainable. And, I just don't think against our defense, Daniels is going to consistently be able to make long, sustained drives, especially with no running game. And so it's like, if you don't got a running game, it's hard to win football games. Yeah. And I'm not a coach nor an expert, but I feel pretty confident saying that out loud, that without a running game, football gets harder.
Yeah.
So there was never a point. I mean, great, we beat Kansas. Nobody's happier than me about that. Fuck Kansas to the fucking core.
Fuck Kansas.
But I'm excited about I don't care about Kansas at all. I care about this football team and how excited I am about what I see as a roster full of SEC level quality athletes, top to bottom.
Yep, it was great, and with the North End Zone construction project going on, everybody was just jam packed in like fucking sardines. It felt like just a
Dude, when they
sea
get the
of
expansion
humanity.
done, it's going to be a big bowl of noise.
I had not gone to the Central Arkansas game, so I was down on the field for this game, and you can just get a bird's eye, not bird's eye, but just like the whole perspective,
Field level,
and it's weird. It's not even complete yet, but it creates a cavernous appearance in that inside the stadium, and I think Faurot Field caught a lot of grief from outsiders because I think it just doesn't. On TV, it doesn't look very big because it's a bowl. It's a semi-bowl.
It's an open-ended bowl.
Yeah, it's not tiered. The east side is now up at the top, but even a smaller stadium looks bigger if it's tiered. And so having that open north concourse as well, where you could see cars driving by, just made it look small potatoes. Mm-hmm. Even though the capacity of the new addition is not going to add that much of actual seating capacity, it's going to feel so much larger and keep that sound in. And you just get a taste of it just even now when it's under construction. So, yes, it was great. And I think, Colin, we would be remiss if we didn't bring up before we go to the break something that happened, I think, at the half where a Mizzou fan was asked to come on to kick a field goal. Yeah. Yes, a hero that we didn't know we needed. But he came onto the field, and our crack research team has dragged down his name. We'd like to get him on the show if possible. But an amputee went out to kick a field goal for $25,000.
It was an amputee?
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah. He only had one leg, which is, even a tougher task what he did. So he is supposed to go attempt this field goal. I think it's like from the 35-yard line, a pretty good-sized field goal.
Yeah.
And instead, he pulls his shirt up where it says FKU on it, stands there, does a little circle so everybody can see. Then he proceeds to approach the ball and turn, and instead of kicking for the goalpost, kicks at the Kansas players on the Kansas sideline. a legend in the making, and has since been picked up.
Yeah, by like national media.
Yeah, I was on Barstool the other day because it was the perfect sort of chef's kiss to the rivalry,
and a perfect microcosm of a good rivalry in college, and why college has a certain ambiance that the NFL is just never going to be able to capture.
Yeah,
because you're just not going to get that. And it was great, and this guy's a hero. And I noticed they have a GoFundMe for him.
Yeah.
The last time I looked, it was like at $5,000.
Perfect.
So like donate to that. I mean, this guy, he earned every bit of that $25K.
So I'm just seeing comments on Twitter, so I don't know how any of this is true or not, but there's Kansas people saying it was all staged. It was like one of those kiss cam things they have in the NBA.
Sure.
I don't believe the university would have done an FKU situation to stage it. No, I don't believe that.
Well,
and then
here's how conspiracy theories work. You have an outcome you want.
Yes.
And you're here and you have an outcome you want, and lacking data in between, you make up a cover up. That's how what allows conspiracy theorists to get from here to there with nothing in the middle, with no data. So like we don't have anything to back up the thing we want to believe.
Right.
So we're going to create a cover up. Mizzou was in on it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. That was what Kansas fans were
and
playing.
so like it's that's what they want to believe, because they're just what they don't want to admit to themselves is, man, Mizzou fans are just better than our fans.
I also saw a rumor that he got kicked out of the game for it, and that also seems unlikely to me. That
I haven't heard that either.
If they're going to kick out people because they had "fuck Kansas" on their shirts or on their bodies, they were going to have to do a lot of kick-ins and outs. I mean, let's face it, they played Mr. Brightsides 3 fucking times, and the entire 65,000 people were screaming "fuck KU." So I don't know if they were there was a high horse to be arresting folks on or kicking people out.
Yeah, I mean, the one upside to sort of like anything goes culture we're in at the moment, it's just that like, hey, they're not going to cancel us for saying "fuck KU" multiple times during this game in a way like I feel like a few years ago they'd been like, we shouldn't lean into this.
I saw no less than 4 Quantrell flags in the parking lot. So yeah, it was out there.
Well, you told me, was it you that told me the story, or Rose who went to the game? Was that the guy who there was Kansas fans?
Oh yeah. So here's the story. So we actually, where we were sitting, and humble brag, got the tickets for free from the athletic department. We were next to these fucking Kansas guys, like 4 of them behind us, and to be perfectly honest, they were perfectly nice guys, very respectful,
pedophiles,
obviously, but to me, someone clearly out of their age range. They were fine. Yeah. And so
you were in no danger.
Yeah, I was in no danger. As I'm not in danger with most of the people there.
Yeah.
Anyway, perfectly good guys, respectful. You couldn't have asked, like there's no reason to beef with them as people, even though they were in their Kansas jersey. And so they were fine. And of course, they were kind of despondent there at the end. And there were people starting to shuffle out. And a drunken Mizzou fan is kind of coming down my aisle. And he turns and sees those Kansas jerseys and goes, "Fuck you, Beaker. Go the fuck home. Fuck you, Beaker." And I was just like, yeah, these guys did nothing but sit there and try to enjoy their team's football for 3.5 hours.
And honestly, I don't endorse that, but there's part of me that's like, it's just like, it's so much fun to have that sort of enthusiasm. And
I had no sympathy for the Kansans. I didn't care at all.
I don't know. I guess as a father, I just like, here. Man, I never want to imagine my son getting shit canned at a game and doing that. Mm-hmm. So but yeah, I
think they're more worried about their dad.
Yeah. And they should be.
Yeah.
And they rightly should be. A few beers, I'll change my tune pretty quick. But yeah, a few beers and some cocaine. That's not true. But anyway, it was
he doesn't drink.
So why were you at the game, Brendan? Do you want to mention why you were
I feel like I've kind of gotten into that a little bit already, too much. But yeah, they honored the 1960 team, who my book Respectable Roughnecks was about. And they were nice enough to let me and my wife come along. So I kind of escorted the 1960 guys there, and it was really cool. One of them was 87 years old, so it was tough. It was a slog because there were a lot of stairs. There's really no way to get around Furrow Field without taking some stairs. But they toughed it out, do the halftime thing, so it was pretty awesome. And in general, I will say, and not just kissing their ass because they gave me free tickets, but I did feel like we dog on the athletic department sometimes. This was a pretty well-run ship during the Kansas game. Not only just logistically, but like they leaned into what the fans wanted. Like we talk about, Colin and I are kind of movie nerds. We talk about fan service to like new Star Wars movies or whatever. And I was kind of dogged on because it's like, oh, come up with something creative, come up with something new, take the story in a new direction. I feel like for fucking sporting events, fan service is all you need to even think about. And they did. Like I said, they played Mr. Brightsides 3 times. When we scored that, when Jamal Roberts had a 63-yard touchdown run, they put on the big screen for like 5 straight minutes, just Kansas fans getting up and walking out of the stadium over and over and over again.
It may be a sign of the crumbling of society as a whole, maybe, but I feel like sports have become such a huge thing, and in particular, college football has become just like a huge feather in your cap. And I feel like Mizzou's treating it like the feather that it's not like Mizzou didn't invest in the football team or care, but I feel like the fan base and the university particularly has been like, hey, it's kind of cool to be in the SEC. And hey, let's, are putting an emphasis on it in a way that they never were before. There was honestly, pretending we were an academic university and not a football university. I mean, when we came into the SEC, one of our brags was like, hey, we're smarter than most of the other SEC schools. And now I just feel like nobody wants to hear that. They're like, we want to be Georgia. And if that means our student population is a little bit dumber, we're okay with it. And right or wrong, like I said, it may not be a sign of good things for society as a whole, but I feel like Mizzou is bought in, the curators, the leadership, the fan base. Like we're like, hey, we're a football school now. Consequences be damned.
Yeah. And kind of have to be that way if you want to compete in this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's sort of, they've acknowledged that like there's no way to do this without sort of jumping in with both feet. And, you know what? If you do jump in the both feet, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
It is, and it does bring kids to, as crazy as it is, people make their decision where they're going to college based on how cool your place is.
Yeah.
And also, if we joined the SEC and we didn't commit to football and we ended up rescinding and being like a Vanderbilt, we're not as smart as Vanderbilt, so we wouldn't have that.
Yeah,
we
wouldn't have that brag.
So,
and everybody would be like, oh yeah, you guys are a better university than Arkansas. Congratulations.
Yeah. My goal, as much as I'd like a national championship or a SEC title, I think those are great. Some of them are maybe more pie in the sky than others. I would like to see as Missouri's ascendance in the SEC where other programs, maybe South Carolina, Arkansas, even the Tennessees and Floridas, have to even start to acknowledge what they see before their face. Because I still feel like we hear the same stupid stuff we heard 12 years ago. You don't belong, your stadium's a high school stadium, all this dumb shit. But then they keep getting beat by us. And at some point, I feel like there's a cumulative effect to where they're like, I don't know, they just put us higher in their head.
Well, I just think there's a matter of what is. And so there's an old guard in the media for the SEC and just in fan bases in general who are like, hey, Missouri doesn't belong. But media continues to get younger. Since we have joined the SEC, the proliferation of online, podcasts and the Barstools of the world, whatever, these guys aren't carrying the same grudges that some fucking old beat reporter for some Tennessee newspaper might have. Mm-hmm. And so when Brandon Walker on whatever, Barstool shows he's on talks about Missouri, he's not going to say, well, their stadium's kind of little. Mm-hmm. Did they really belong in the SEC? No, he's going to be like, hey, you know what Missouri did this? There's more objectivity to it because they're not concerned with like, this notion of being SEC or not SEC. It's just like, hey, they're a really good football team and we're concerned with all football teams and how good they are. And partially because gambling has become so important. It's like you're going to gamble your own money. You're going to have to deal with reality. And the reality is, sometimes Missouri's good, and you have to acknowledge it if you're going to compete in the world of gambling.
Well, I feel like there's two types of SEC media that we are up against. One is like kind of what you're talking about, where it's like they look at Missouri as if you bought a brand new Porsche, and then then the commissioner of the SEC decided that you needed to get those boss hog style Longhorn bull antlers on the front of your new Porsche. When they're like, that's what they think of their conference as a Porsche, and they think of Mizzou as the horns, the Longhorns, being appended to it. And then, so there's that. And I don't know if we'll ever win over any of those people because, whatever. But then there's the other part of it where they have no animosity towards Missouri. They've just never seen Missouri. They don't care about Missouri. They have no interest in Missouri. And so they say things really stupid because they've just never done any research or they've never watched any games or they don't know anything about Columbia. You see that all the time, people dogging on Columbia. I'm like, come to Columbia. Columbia's fucking nice.
Yeah, it's a good town.
It's never more obvious when people dog on Columbia. It's like, oh, guess what? You've never been here. Clearly, you've never been here.
Yeah, it's, again, I think Mizzou, in some way, on the national stage for a long time, lived in a sort of world where nobody was really, truly sure what was going on in Missouri, and nobody truly really cared. And going to the SEC puts you on a national stage that you're not really on, but in a way before, and then you get good, and it's like, they have to deal with you. It's. You can't ignore reality at some point. When we beat Georgia, it's like you can hate it and not like it, but it happened and there's visual evidence of it. So you can only ignore it again so long. Reality eventually is going to catch up with everyone. And I think, 10 years from now, Mizzou will just be in the SEC, and there's always going to be, they don't belong, if nothing else, just because of geography. They're like, they're above the Mason-Dixie line. But I think at the end of the day, you just become SEC at some point. You just are. Arkansas joined in 93, and they got the same grief. And now does anybody question Arkansas's membership in the
Probably
SEC?
some people.
Their qualification to be here, but
there's a lot of people in the SEC, Colin, who question a lot of things which have long been since settled.
Yeah. Certain things have been agreed upon by most of society.
Right.
The South sometimes is a little slower to come to terms with some of it.
Yeah. So they're not known for accepting change with just
with a plum.
Grace. Yeah.
Anyway,
so,
we've ranted a long time.
We have, yeah. But it's been a big deal, a big day for the Tigers. Like I said, they are 2-0 on the season and have been ranked by the Associated Press. The coaches poll looks like we're one. If they were a number 26, that's where we'd be.
Yeah.
So we are getting some eyeballs on us. And
it's hard for me to believe. I wish I could talk to somebody who knows, like a Nick Saban. I want Nick Saban to watch this game soup to nuts and tell me if what I'm seeing is real.
Yeah.
Like, am I seeing this?
Are you seeing this? On?
Well, yeah. Do I have my fan goggles on, or like, is Missouri? Are these some big fucking athletes that got running around out there? And I would love to. Unfortunately, I have to wait for these football games to be played to know. But because nobody on a national level, I think, is really drilling down on Missouri yet, as is kind of the case. And
we'll get into this, but we obviously play Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Bearcats next week, and then
the Raging Bearcats, I believe, is the name.
Yeah, and then it's the South Carolina game, and obviously we've known all along that is going to be sort of a turning point in the season. We'll get into that down the road.
How many times have we done this? How many times has South Carolina been like this? Like, hey, South Carolina thinks they're good, Missouri thinks they're good. Only one of us gets to have the season we want, and we're we're one another's respective barrier to that season.
Yeah. I don't hate South Carolina, but I
feel like they're our brother from another mother.
Yeah,
and I know that South Carolina fans would hate that, but I see their fan base, I see their program, and I'm like, I feel like we're sort of mirror images in some ways.
They're always on the cusp.
Yeah, and that's what Missouri is, and like sort of equitable size, equitable fan enthusiasm, and it's hard to say this about any SEC program, but some level of self-awareness that I feel like Mizzou fans also have.
Certainly more than Tennessee fans.
Yeah,
or
that's what I'm
Arkansas
saying.
fans,
like
yeah.
Arkansas and Tennessee, these programs are completely fucking delusional. And I feel like South Carolina fans, like Missouri fans, are a little more measured. Like,
yeah, we have bad years.
Yeah, So anyway.
Yeah. We'll get into it after the break. We got a lot of show left ahead because this is obviously the return of the border war. And this is the Mizzodcast.
Mizzou football is more than a game. It's a tradition that brings Tigers together, generation after generation. And for decades, one of the simplest traditions has been a symbol of our shared experience, the communal trough urinals. They've been there through victories, defeats, and everything in between. It's about connection, a place where every Tiger, no matter who they are, shares the moment. There are no CEOs or janitors, no hedge fund managers or bartenders. There are only Tigers, standing shoulder to shoulder, united in relief and camaraderie, holding on to hope and their manhood. But now, this unique piece of our history is under threat. Modern renovations could send this tradition down the drain forever. Don't let part of what makes Mizzou special be lost. We win together, we lose together, and by God, we urinate together. Join the movement and sign our petition entitled Save Mizzou's Trough Urinals at change.org, because you can't flush tradition.
And we are back, and Colin, we were not the only people excited about the return of the border war or the outcome of the game. Obviously, you might imagine that we got a few voicemails this weekend. In fact, way more than we can play. It would have been, we could do a number of shows, just voicemail shows. I mean, it's basically what Paul Feinberg does every day, 4 hours.
Probably play the intro.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get into the Mizzodcast mailbag.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
All right, Colin, let's hear our first caller.
Well, it's halftime, and
Keith
I don't
Sweat
think
returns.
I would be able to eat for the rest of the week if we'd have continued to look how we looked like in the first quarter. But I'm glad we battled back. So, I'm just glad that the new season is here, and I want to see how well we do. I'm not going to be negative this year. Okay. No blues.
No
only going
blues.
to be good times are coming. So,
amen, Keith.
Let's see what they can do in the second half. MIZ. And by the way, I love all y'all calls, man. Y'all make my when I'm at the office, listen to this. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
We equally appreciate you, Keith. And
Yeah.
your sultry sounds.
And some of the other callers. All righty. Agreed. We're looking forward to good times ahead. Here is call number 2.
Woo! This is Adam Wolf, baby. Fuck KU. Fuck Jalen Daniels. Wave my fucking weed, bitch. MIZ. Fuck you guys. KU. Fuck KU. Yeah! Fuck him! Fuck him! Jalen Daniels, you're MIZ! Fuck you! Yeah!
The appropriate sentiment.
That's right. And it's kind of the analysis that you don't get on all of many other podcasts.
Yeah. We're only going to bring you Adam Wolf's unique perspective.
That's
no
right.
other show will.
What's up, cocksuckers? Can't spell cocksucker without KU. Get Kansas. Never a doubt in my mind. Lance Leopold can go ahead and suck my cock. Thank you, sir. Hot garbage. Hot garbage. Hot dog water.
Hot dog water.
Jalen Daniels can go ahead and kiss the big wins goodbye. His sister really needs to stop hitting my phone, though. It's getting really fucking old. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glad you
I
enjoyed
didn't,
the weekend.
the cocksucker thing seems, Brennan, you can build 100 bridges and people don't call you a bridge builder. You suck one cock, just one, and you're a cocksucker the rest of your life.
You've been saying
Doesn't
that for
seem
years.
fair.
Yeah. No.
Frankly.
Yeah. No, you've been talking about that for a long, long time.
Okay, dum-dums. Can we acknowledge that we inflicted hot, stinky hobo cum
Frothy
justice
even.
Hobo cum.
on the Hawkers? Ahab. Hot garbage.
Hot garbage.
Hobo cum. Hot dog water.
All the
Love you
classics.
guys.
It's back. We're back. The Zodcast is back. Hot garbage.
Hot garbage.
Hey guys.
They got so trashed last night celebrating. Almost forgot to call, but god damn, what a win. Love this school, love this team. You know, it was fantastic to have that back. And whatever happened to that Carolina jackpot guy?
That's Caleb the Twink.
Well, he fucking sucked anyways. Who cares?
Yeah.
Well, based on his voicemails, I think he's wearing a diaper so he can drive nonstop to Columbia to murder both Brendan and I.
Yep, he's gone fully insane or something. Caught us off guard. Much like the Epstein files, one day maybe we'll release the jackpot files. But suffice to say, we just woke up one day and he was insane and hated us. Or anyway, but yeah, there's your answer.
MIZFKU. So I'm going to ask a question. While we were down 21-6, I was thinking of all the terrible things I would rather do than to see our Tigers lose at Kansas at home. And you all said you would like listeners to pose questions. So my question for you, what would you be willing to watch or do as vile as possible to avoid ever losing to Kansas again? See y'all later.
Brendan, you want to take this one first, or
vile things that I would do if it meant that I would never watch Missouri lose to Kansas again? Now, I feel this is a catch to this thing because Missouri and Kansas, it's not exactly like we've ignited the rivalry we're going to play every year anyway. Because what I'm likely to do is just to say, you know, well, I would eat horse shit out of Butch Jones's mouth, and that would be a bad day for me. And then I would do it, and the next day they'd say Kansas and Missouri are never playing again.
That's the way that would work.
That's the way it would work out.
Well, I would say, like, what would I be? I would be willing to release the Epstein files, knowing that in my childhood, my dad's drinking buddies were Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein. You know, like, I'm not going to want them to open that file.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't.
But under those circumstances, I'd still want it opened if Kansas would never beat Missouri again.
And Jared from Subway. I think that's actually
yeah, exactly.
Dad's buds.
Yep. Yeah. Just Dad hanging out in the garage.
With Jared and Bill and Don.
And Jeffrey.
And of course Jeffrey. As he always called him Jeff.
Yeah. It was Jeff. It was old Jeffy. Your dad.
That's right.
Dad, old Jeffy's on the phone.
Our dad is on the Epstein list. All right. Does that answer the question?
I think so.
All right.
Hey, just wanted to call in and make sure you guys get a hold of Carter. Is the legend who kicked that ball towards Kansas' sideline during the game.
Whoa.
I tagged you guys to him on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But he says it's the dream to be on your podcast. So you guys need to connect and get him on the show. MIZ, fuck Kansas. Let's go.
I knew this guy had Mizzodcast energy.
Yeah. Nothing says Mizzodcast energy like the stunt he pulled. We would be happy to interview this young man. We're
going to make that happen.
He is a hero. He is the embodiment of everything that a Mizzou fan should be.
Living legend. Yeah. And it was the kind of thing where it did go viral. It did get picked up by a national audience. And there would be occasional comments that would be like, this is stupid or whatever. And then the narrative, it was so overwhelmingly positive in his favor that if anybody would deign to put a negative comment about him, they would get fucking thrashed in the comments. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're going to make that happen and we will connect there. I didn't see the tag because we're terrible about checking our social media messages. Jackpot. Calm down. Anyway. So yeah, that'll do it, I think, this week for the Mizzodcast mailbag. It's a great way to end it, I think, Colin, by finding out that we are connecting with the field goal legend.
Well, I'm so happy because I feel like I wanted to shout it out, obviously, on the show tonight because I feel like it is important to get this guy $25,000. He deserved it.
Yeah.
He earned it. And like I said,
I'll flash a QR code or something.
Yeah, we'll put something
with the
here or
GoFundMe
something probably in that area.
Or there.
Or
here. But we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a good time.
Something to look forward to.
So, all right. And it is an all Kansas episode, so it's only natural we transition to our next segment. It's time once again for Kansas news.
Well, I always heard there were 3 kinds of suns in Kansas. Sunshine, sunflowers, sons of bitches.
Our first story of the day, Colin. Kansas man convicted after biting off top of fellow inmate's ear.
Delicious.
Yeah, a little Evander Holyfield action going on in Kansas. A jury convicted a Kansas man after he had bit the top off a fellow inmate's ear. The Leavenworth County Attorney's Office has announced...
That must have been some really rough sex.
That's some tough lovemaking there.
Yeah.
Announced that on Monday, a jury found inmate Alvaro Pertuz guilty of aggravated battery. His trial lasted less than 1 day.
Does it say whether the fellow inmate was a human?
Yeah, or some sort of livestock.
I think they put donkeys in,
for conjugal visits in Kansas. Just
we bring
the donkey out. We bring the donkey out once a week for the conjugal visits here in Leavenworth, in Kansas.
Yeah, we still have humanity.
Yeah, that's right. We care about these inmates. He was convicted in less than a day. Court records indicated that Pertuz was charged on July after he jumped on the back of a fellow inmate while playing basketball and bit the top of his ear. So I don't know the rules of basketball like you do, Colin, but it seems like a foul.
Yeah, well, unless you're playing in Allen Fieldhouse.
Yep. They said investigators noted that Pertuz had been initially been put behind bars for an aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer, which he was convicted of and pled guilty to in 2022. They said the jury's verdict was a reflection of the seriousness of his violent behavior, even while in custody. County jails and correctional facilities have rules, and the law is still to be followed. Our office takes seriously any harm done, not only to the staff, but also the residents of these facilities. Mm-hmm. Residents is a very polite way of saying inmates. So, I mean...
He looks like an ear biter.
He does, yeah. He looks like... He looks like your average Kansas. I mean, looks like the governor of Kansas, to be honest.
Sure. The attorney general.
Yeah, but if you said to me and showed me a picture of this guy and said, do you think he's capable of biting an inmate's ear off? I would say that's the only thing I think he's capable of. It's basically that and pounding Monster Energy drink. So, anyway, moving on to our next story. Kansas man loses $30,000 to scam before bank intervention. So I feel like we could have this story every week in Kansas, but $30,000 sounds like a pretty good
Did Elon Musk contact him on Telegram? You need a little extra cash?
Yeah, I got a deal for you.
Yeah.
Right here. So in Wichita, Kansas, my gut was saying this was wrong and I should have followed my gut. Southwest Kansas man, Tom Grauberger, is out $30,000, but it could have been hundreds of thousands of dollars to a scam had it not been for a phone call from his bank. Frankly, I would have been a little mad at the bank for letting it go for $30,000. But anyway, Grauberger of Lakin, Kansas, came to Fact Finder to share his story. This is a sophisticated scam that went on for weeks. He said, thinking over everything, how could I have done that? He said, well...
Not that sophisticated, turns out.
Yeah, it turns out you're the idiot. And maybe they just target Kansas addresses. They see Kansas zip codes and phone numbers.
Target-rich environment.
Yeah, it's easy now for Grauberger to reflect how he fell for it. Your gut is going to tell you whether it's right or wrong, he said. But in the moment, it wasn't so simple. He just sat down to do his taxes on his computer, and his computer locked up. Microsoft Defender popped up and said there was a problem on his computer. Call this number. And Microsoft Defender is a program used to prevent scams, but little did Grauberger know that when he called the number, it would be the start of a scam that would result in him losing tens of thousands of dollars. The man on the other end of the phone told Grauberger that illegal activity had been happening on his computer under his name. A screenshot showed 10 hackers had access to his computer, and the report of alleged illegal activity included illegal pornography, including child pornography and money laundering. At this point, I'm wondering if the guy's like, I do have that on.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds like something that would be on my hard drive. Those things weren't actually on his computer, he says, but he was concerned. He was told that he was being investigated and referred to someone claiming to be with the Federal Trade Commission, who said proof of his assets was needed. To provide it, he had to send $30,000 to the Federal Trade Commission.
Okay, this is the part where you should have been like, that's not a thing that happens. Well, here's where
maybe ask anyone.
Well, here's your first tip off. What company that does this sort of business, any sort of like self or help service, or no one gives you their phone number anymore. They do not want to talk to you on the phone. Nobody. And this is the first thing these people did was like, hey, call this number.
Yeah.
Like they don't do that. They're going to do a little chatbot thing in the corner. They're gonna ask you to do a lot of different things before they ever want to talk to your miserable ass on the phone. So that's anytime like you get one of those text messages say, hey, the post office, you can't deliver your package. Call this number. I'm like, you know what the post office is never going to do is ask you to call them.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that would have been my first red flag is these guys are immediately like, hey, call this number.
Do you want to hear a couple other red flags, Colin?
The fact when they asked that you needed to send $30,000.
Well, here's another red flag, Colin. He was told he should take out cash and put it between the pages of magazines before placing it in a box fully wrapped in duct tape.
That's not true.
Because
that's not true.
That is how the Federal Trade Commission operates. We all know that.
Jesus Christ. So
Grauberger.
So not complicated.
I'm not done. I'm not done. Grauberger mailed the money, the $30,000 in cash, mailed it.
Because that's how you get your computer fixed, guys. That's what Microsoft does.
To an address in Boston where he was told that the Federal Trade Commission would pick it up. And so
from their P.O. box.
All this time, the scammer had promised it would be sent back. All my expenses, he said.
Yeah, they're going to send it back in Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues.
Yeah, that's right. So why didn't anyone tell him this was happening? The scammers used fear and threats and even made him sign a fake non-disclosure agreement and told him that if he said anything to his family, it would violate the agreement. So for 3 weeks, the scammers called and stayed on the phone constantly to monitor his day-to-day life. We want your phone left on at all times, Grauberger said the scammers told him, and they wanted to see what I was doing.
So they've got they're there to help you with this hacker problem, and then they're immediately like, hey, don't tell anybody about us helping you.
Yeah.
You got a pretty nice house here. It'd be pretty bad if somebody started throwing rocks through the windows.
That's right. You want an ICE agent showing up at your house? Yeah, he said from time to time, or from the moment he woke up in the morning
when
to the
they
time
asked
he
for a
went
picture of my wife's pussy, I was like, all right, now I'm getting suspicious.
Again? He's all in all, he spent more than 17,000 minutes on the phone with these scammers. I just looked at it.
This guy deserves to lose. How does a man with this IQ make $30,000?
Apparently, his daughter said, I just looked at it and was like, holy cow. Leo said that, the daughter said that for weeks she had no idea what her father was going through. I said, if I don't tell you the truth, I'm going to send Father Peter over there and take your confession, the daughter said to her dad. But the scammers weren't done. The next target was the retirement money. Oh, my God. They wanted to know how much money was in my retirement. I told them I needed to draw out $200,000 and leave the rest. The scammers told him to wire $100,000, and it was then that the bank finally flagged the account.
Why would he do? His computer needs to be fixed. What would he think? Like, I got to send these guys $100K. Are we sure the child pornography wasn't already on the computer? Because I don't understand what leverage these people had on this man.
So here's my thought. Kansas a couple of weeks ago announced the largest gift in their university athletic program or university history. Do we know the source of the money wasn't Kansas University calling these guys in Kansas claiming to be the Federal Trade Commission?
I don't know.
It all showed up in duct tape magazines.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's how Kansas gets their financial donations. So anyway, yeah, this guy doesn't sound super bright, but he does sound qualified to be a professor at the University of Kansas.
Are we shocked? Honestly, I'm not reviewing this for the right lens. This is a Kansas resident. He lives in Kansas by choice, so obviously judgment not high on the totem pole.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. This is Kansas stuff.
Yep.
Next story. Southeast Kansas man sentenced after shooting at Amazon delivery driver.
Yeah, haven't we all wanted to do that?
Again, this guy, if you said, do you think he sits on his porch and shoots at people that come up the driveway? And I would say, yes, it's exactly who he is.
Yeah.
That's all he's what he lives for.
Yeah. If you told me that guy has a flag on his pickup truck, I might believe you.
Truck nuts for sure. A Southeast Kansas man pled guilty to 2 charges and received a suspended sentence for reportedly firing shots at a delivery driver. Corey Rogers, age 42, pled guilty to endangerment and criminal discharge of a firearm in Cherokee County Court last month. Rogers was sentenced to 12 months in Cherokee County Jail, but that was suspended, and he received 12 months of unsupervised probation. During that time, he cannot possess weapons, use drugs or alcohol, and must comply with all probation requirements. It stems from an incident last September when Rogers fired several shots of a .45 handgun toward the Amazon delivery driver who had pulled into the wrong driveway, which apparently in Kansas is a capital offense.
Yeah, yep.
The driver was not
wounded. Stand your
ground
in your driveway.
The driver was not wounded, so he's obviously a bad shot as well, on top of everything else. And this is the kind of thing where it's like, Colin, there's a lot of debate about guns in the country and politics and all that.
We'll not get into that here.
No, but what I will say is stupid people and guns have always been a problem and will always be a problem.
Yeah, no matter what country you're in.
Any gun law or any nation, a stupid person from Kansas and a .45 probably not going to end well.
No.
You know what I mean? That's stupid is the issue. So anyway, that's always the issue in Kansas. And that brings us to our final story of the day. And I think you know what it might be, Colin. The Missouri Tigers hosted the Kansas Jayhawks with a lowercase k and Kansas lost 31-42, as had been reported earlier on this program. Breaking news. It was the return of the border war and bad day for Kansas. Although we did talk a little bit about it, Colin. Those guys behind me, I think they represented the Kansas fans well in that they wanted to win. They came there to watch their team win, but they were not expecting to win. Mm-hmm. And whether that is just where Missouri lies versus Kansas lies in the overall college football landscape, or whether there's a fear of the SEC logo that they had, I don't know. But a combination of things made them skeptical that even with a talented roster and a very veteran quarterback, that Missouri was probably going to do what they ended up doing and beating them by 11.
Yeah.
So anyway, bad day for Kansas overall if you were wiring money to the FTC or just simply a Jayhawks fan.
Yep.
And Colin, I feel like this naturally would be the part, and I think may disappoint some fans here, where we would play sour grapes. But I didn't feel like I saw all that many.
No, I looked around a little bit, didn't find much. Most of what I found on the message boards or the Twitter for Kansas fans was everybody mad at the coach.
Coach Leopold, yes. It's not that there weren't tweets out there that said fuck Mizzou or muck Mizzou or slavers or whatever thing they were going to say. But it's just that kind of shit was running all week. And it didn't seem to change. There was some grousing about calls here and there, but frankly, the officiating was bad all the way around, and Missouri didn't necessarily benefit from it as far as I'm concerned.
If there hadn't been instant replay in that game, Missouri could have been a bad way because we probably wouldn't have gotten an interception at the end of the game.
Yeah.
The fumble that we recovered would not have been a fumble, even though he literally fumbled the ball the ball still 3 feet above the ground. They managed to call that down.
Yeah.
And so there were several plays.
Daniels stepping out of bounds or not stepping out.
Thank God there's instant replay because these officials are fucking garbage.
Blowing it. Yeah. So, and just like I said about those Kansas fans behind me, I think there was a sense of despondency, which when that happens, the grapes aren't as sour because they just don't.
Well, I remember when Brett Bielema was still at Arkansas, like the last year, and we beat them, and they were just, at that point, they were so resigned to how bad they were. We couldn't play sour grapes because all they were doing online was just running down the coach and wanting to be fired.
Yeah.
Missouri was just sort of an afterthought.
It's not as fun. And that happens quite a bit with Missouri. I feel like people don't get mad at their team as much as they get mad at the coach because they think, a good coach would have beaten this.
They're not as mad at Missouri as they are at the fucking head coach.
Yeah. So anyway, but speaking of other teams, why don't we look at what was happening around the rest of this conference, because it does seem wide open. It has a lot of implications for the future of this 2-0 program at Mizzou. Let's go around the horn with the SEC.
We break our bread at Waffle House, our teams are pretty good. We even play some basketball when Jesus says we should. So pour a little bourbon and repeat right after me. We built a church for Saturdays and called it SEC. Jesus loves football.
And before we get into it, Colin, would you fire up the Fine Bot?
Alabama. Let's get started.
That's Paul.
Thank you, Mizzodcast podcast.
So let's go into our first game. We're going to blow through, I think, this week pretty fast, Colin. There were a couple interesting games, but a lot of them were letter school Bearcat games. And the first one there was Louisiana Tech taking on LSU. This was at LSU, and it was not the paddle fest that one might have expected. LSU did win the game 23-7, and it was sort of a coast job, and they didn't score. The 7 did Louisiana Tech till the bitter end of the fourth quarter. So it was a.
I think LSU is good, but I also think maybe Clemson's not as good as everybody thought either.
I think it's a combination of those things, and that's just going to show how wide open this college. I mean, with more playoff spots and more parity, it'll be interesting. So moving on, Georgia did the same thing. Got a easy cupcake game against Austin Peay. They won 28-6, and we'll be moving on 2-0, still number 4 in the country. And another cupcake Bearcat was Texas over San Jose State. Bearcats 38-7. Texas had a get-right game, so to speak. Arch Manning looked a little bit better, but he didn't look like the golden boy that everybody's been talking. Arch Manning, he's got a lot of time to sort things out.
Let's put it this way, Pribula is not got the obviously notoriety of Arch Manning, but if Arch Manning was playing anywhere nearly as good as Pribula is, the internet would be on fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. So far, Pribula looks like the more poised quarterback, crazy enough. South Carolina took on South Carolina State. They won this one 38-10, as would be expected. Although I will say that it did take a little bit for South Carolina to get going, and they eventually poured it on over the Bearcats of South Carolina State. But I watched a little of this game, and South Carolina, no doubt, is going to be a tough matchup. But they're not a team that I'm like, we can beat South Carolina. We could have beaten them last year.
Yeah, and everybody who's picked our schedule picked South Carolina to beat us, who's not like a Mizzou fan. So, it's just supposed to be a foregone conclusion that we lose that game, I think, to most SEC people. But I don't see that when I watch South Carolina play.
And they're ranked number 10 in the country now. So if, presuming they will still be a top 10 team when they face Missouri and Columbia. And
it'll be a biggie.
And if Missouri, it'll be a turning point. I mean, I think that is if we have high hopes for the season, South Carolina will be a determinant. Even if we lose the game, Colin, how we play against South Carolina will be a determinant on what the season.
As we previously mentioned, that we it seems like we have this game every year. South Carolina thinks they're good. Missouri thinks they're good, and we are the programs that stand in one another's way from having the season we want, because it sort of is a way that it just determines the trajectory of each of the seasons. So I think because we're brothers from another mother, like losing to South Carolina is sort of a black eye, and losing to Missouri is sort of a black eye because neither program is looked at. So winning against them, we have to, because we need a record to get in the playoffs. We need numbers. But to lose to them is to be like, it's something people will say when they're talking about whether you should be in the playoffs or where your team's at. Like they lost to Missouri.
Yeah.
Or they lost to South Carolina. And it's just something you sort of can't get over the hump with.
LSU and Georgia have to fall to get out of the catbird seat. Yeah. We have to climb.
Yeah.
And South Carolina has to climb.
Yeah.
They're a lot further along than we are. Obviously, like I said, they're a top 10 team right now. But again, if we do pull off the win against a top 10 opponent in South Carolina, Missouri's stock is going to skyrocket, and there will be a lot more expectations going in to certainly the Alabama game. So moving right along, one of the things that's scaring me this year, Colin, already is that we had gotten all this bullshit talk about what a soft schedule Missouri had. Kind of a breeze. And yet all the teams that it looks like we're going to be facing look to be fucking tougher than I expected.
Yeah. Mississippi State looked good. And
Case in point, the Mississippi State game.
And this was obviously a surprising outcome, but I have seen several people, on these college talk, TikToks or podcasts and stuff talking about, Mississippi State's not as bad as everybody thinks they are. And they kind of went out and proved it. They beat what are they ranked 11th?
Arizona State was ranked number 12 in the country. Mississippi State beat them 24-20. Yeah. Reporting this, if you live under a rock, everybody knows the outcome. It was a big win for Mississippi State, and it proved, I made an just like an offhand comment about how Mississippi State was going to get their ass beat a bunch this year. They don't look like a team that's ready to get their ass handed to them very much. And so it's not a game I'm looking forward to, and I think it's one of the few road games we have.
A trap game.
Later in the game. Oh, yeah. There's very much so. So anyway, mark that as one opponent who looks tougher than advertised. Another SEC team that doesn't look as tough as advertised is the Florida Gators, who ended up
Billy boy, when are you going to find whatever it is you're looking for?
South Florida beat Florida 18-16.
Napier is cooked.
I saw something today, like before we went online, about how the Florida boosters are still backing Napier. And I just don't. Well, the only reason I think that might be true is I think there's a lot of feeling now that they maybe pulled the trigger on Dan Mullen too fast. Dan Mullen had one losing year, and this year they fired him. And Billy Napier, he's not building what they want.
No.
And every year, Florida gets by on name recognition.
Well, and I think
early.
The reason I feel like this could be a very nail in the coffin game. It's one thing to lose to Missouri or lose to South Carolina, or again lose to some of these SEC opponents. They're like, oh, you're not supposed to lose to Kentucky, but you're not supposed to get beat in a letter school game.
No. The South Florida Bearcats, I think. So no, but South Florida is actually good.
So you may get beat by Missouri, but they'll live with that a little bit better than they're going to. This is a game that even if your team is down, you're not supposed to lose.
Right. But South Florida has 2 wins over ranked opponents now, so they're obviously legit. And I think they're in the top 25 now and deserve to be after this win. But we'll see how Florida bounces back from that. Or if Billy Napier makes it through the season. My money's on no.
Oh, boy, I just feel like it's such a bad move to fire a coach in season. I don't feel like anything good comes from that.
There's a certain level. I feel like the top level SEC schools, they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like A&M will just fucking pull the rug out from under you. We'll see what Alabama's going to do. But
I think it comes to money. If the boosters are like, you're firing him.
Yeah.
Or we're closing the fucking checkbook. And then it happens.
Yeah, the buyouts are insane now. That's the best job in the world, is to be a former SEC coach. That's the job I want. But along the lines of teams we got to play and look better than advertised, Oklahoma beat Michigan in Norman 24-13 and looked like the better team all along. Former national champion Michigan Wolverines.
Michigan Astros, that's right. Cheaters. Oklahoma looks better than last year. I don't know if I'm buying in quite as much as some of the others people I've seen online, but they're going to be a better team this year than the one we played last year when Short King Drew Pine took us to victory. But I think Mizzou's a better team too. So, I'm still optimistic that game's even at the Sooner country, that's a game we can win.
Yeah, another conference game that I guess is supposed to be easy for us. We're going up against Texas A&M, who beat Utah State Bearcats 44-22, number 19 in the country. Texas A&M looks solid as well, and I'm still starting to struggle to find where these easy wins are coming on our schedule. A close one, played at the same time as us. My wife at the game with me was constantly checking her phone and the scoreboard for updates. Ole Miss pulled out the 30-23 win over Kentucky. I can't decide if Ole Miss looks worse than expected or if Kentucky's a little bit better than we expected. I kind of think Ole Miss is a little worse.
Well, Jackson Dart is in the NFL right now. He's a pretty good quarterback. And so I don't think that Ole Miss is a bad football team now, but it's hard for me to believe that their current quarterback is not a downgrade over a guy that got drafted.
Yeah. So, again, we will see Ole Miss remains 2-0. They're number 20 in the country. Kentucky is 1-1, of course, unranked. Another upcoming opponent for Missouri. I don't think this is a game that anybody's sort of scoffing off as an easy one, but Alabama played Louisiana Monroe Bearcats, and won 73-0. So they eked one by.
I feel bad for Louisiana Monroe here because, obviously Alabama shat the bed. And the only way you're going to be able to put any salve on that wound is to just absolutely pummel your next opponent. And that's what they did. Had Alabama not lost their last game, I think there's a world where Caleb DeBoer pumps the brakes a little bit in this game, but he's like, sorry, guys.
After what happened last week, you're the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to rip your guts out.
That's right.
You're going to do deep knee bends over a fire hydrant when I'm done with you. I apologize now for that.
I have to convince people I'm good. Another paddle fest was the University of Tennessee, now number 22 in the country, took on East Tennessee State Bearcats. And 72-17 was the final.
Tennessee's quarterback's looking good.
Yeah.
So that's always, and
Heupel's
a good offensive coach,
especially when he's got a talented quarterback.
Yeah, so
he's also a guy that's never going to put the fucking brakes on, even against a team like East Tennessee State. He's a dickhead. We all know that, as are all Tennessee people, frankly. And then Arkansas pummeled Arkansas State 56-14. Another Bearcat Paddle Fest. Arkansas is one of these teams, Colin. They're 2-0 now. They've looked impressive in their 2 wins, but they also haven't fucking played anybody. I feel like this is where Texas A&M lives, like 4 games deep into the season, where they've scored 80 points a game, but they haven't fucking played anybody, and then they disappoint. Arkansas is almost bound to disappoint, if you ask me.
Yeah,
Pittman.
The fact that Pittman's still there is honestly a testament to Arkansas being like, hey, we're going to commit to a coach. We're going to try to build a program. I mean, I think this is obviously Pittman's last year. If it comes off the rails as I expected to, I think he's going to be gone. But I do have a certain appreciation for these programs being like, hey, we've gotten a little trigger happy. It doesn't all happen overnight, but it should happen fast enough. I mean, because with the transfer portal, you can really rejuvenate a roster pretty quickly. But they're just, I think they're going to end up firing him this year. I just can't imagine Arkansas is going to be able to have really any kind of real competitive season.
They look better this year than they did last year. But I think they are just.
I guess it all depends on their expectations.
I think expectations are somewhat high because they're sick of Pittman. And I think that they're a little bit of a flame out away, like I said, from him being out of here. And they just have to lose 2 games they're not expected to lose. Now, maybe he can absorb
This is a team that
one.
needs to build momentum
Yeah.
and sort of build confidence. And if they have a back-breaking loss in the middle of the season, they could easily wilt and just fall off.
You can't tell me, I know a lot's going to happen between now and then, but you can't tell me that Arkansas, at least the players or the coaches, don't circle the Missouri game a little bit on the calendar simply because they have not beaten us. They've rarely beat us. And I think they could easily view beating Missouri as a simple milestone in the path to trying to get good. We got to beat Missouri if we're going to expect to do anything else in this conference. And so, if for no other reason alone, I'm not talking about respecting us or not respecting us or belonging or blah, 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 blah. I'm just talking about they see us as look, we got a fucking losing streak against these guys. It's embarrassing to us. We got to turn that around if we're going to turn anything around. Auburn had another laugher against Ball State, 42-3. Auburn looks okay so far, but
they look better than I expected them to. I really thought Auburn was going to come out of the gates and be pretty flat. I don't know. I don't trust Hugh Freeze's ability to not turn any situation into sort of a dumpster fire.
And Auburn does look a lot better than I think maybe people expected. And of course, they're on Missouri's easy schedule. Yep. Colin, we've got to play
another one of those pushovers.
Yep. So then another team that is on our schedule and usually is a pushover, but maybe not so fast. Vanderbilt beat Virginia Tech 44-20.
Yeah, it turns out Virginia Tech sucks balls.
At Virginia Tech. And Vanderbilt is not bad at football.
No, but I think I said in the last episode, like, I don't know what they are, Virginia Tech. I mean, I don't know who they're bad at football.
Well, the Hokies lost badly to Vanderbilt. I'm sure that upset them, but to me, it's like, okay, Vanderbilt is supposed to be your easiest of easy wins, and they just clobbered a Power 5 school by 24 points on the road. So that's your easy team you got to play. And bring on UMass, and then we're done with it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the shit because we don't have LSU or Georgia on our schedule that we don't have a fucking or Tennessee that we don't have a hard schedule. The teams we got to play are fucking hard. Give me a goddamn break. I mean, as I went down this list of games this weekend, most of them were ranked. So anyway, and obviously our Missouri Tigers beat the Kansas Jayhawks to round out SEC play in week 2. Looking ahead to next week, that Oklahoma team who is looking sharp, they are facing Temple on the road. It'll be their first road
Famous
game.
for Bill Cosby being a graduate there.
Yeah, they kind of wish it wasn't as famous now. He wasn't a graduate, I don't know.
He just really loved Temple.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into hot Bill Cosby talk.
Hot Bill Cosby talk.
You're also friends with our dad.
Yeah. That guy.
So Oklahoma's going to presumably have an easy time with Temple. I think they are 24.5-point favorites. So yeah, I think they'll be okay.
Wisconsin, Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama, now number 19 in the country, is favored by 20.5 over a 2-0 Wisconsin team.
Wisconsin not good, I guess?
Not good enough to fucking be respected against Alabama. It doesn't look like. We will find out. Auburn, now 24 in the country, is ranked. We play South Alabama. They're a 25.5-point favorite. Then we get into some interesting football.
Tennessee,
it's starting to start.
Georgia.
Yeah. Georgia will be at Tennessee. Number 6 Georgia now will face number 15 Tennessee. Georgia is a touchdown favorite on the road. Tennessee has looked good so far. As we mentioned, Heupel can run an offense. They've got a decent quarterback. Georgia is looking to return to its, dominance, and this will be the kind of game that they have to win to
Tell
do
me
it.
about Georgia. Do you think they look good? Because I'll be honest, I'm sitting here thinking about it. Like, I don't think I've seen a minute of a Georgia football game yet.
Well,
I know they're good. Obviously, they're Georgia, but how good? I don't know.
I think they are good. I mean, they have been able to fill holes, and the only thing that gives me any pause about not just Georgia, but any of the top programs is they used to be 4 or 5 deep and 4 and 5 stars everywhere. And none of these teams are that deep anymore because nobody's sitting around to be third string if they are a highly touted recruit when they can transfer at any time and get a spot. And
get the money and the playing time.
The flexibility is there to do that. And so guys just don't stick around because they're at a name brand school anymore.
Yeah.
So
the cachet of saying you played at Georgia isn't enough to make you ride the pine. It's like, I can go get a check and some playing time someplace else.
If I had to wager on this game, Colin, I might take Tennessee in the points. As much as I hate to say that, Tennessee also has a really strong tendency to shit the bed in big games. Mm-hmm. But, it will be an excellent matchup. And it'll start telling us a little bit about the makeup of this conference, I think, at the top.
Yeah, I think it's a big one. I think it's it's going to tell you what Tennessee is because I think we know Georgia's Georgia, but is Tennessee for real?
Yeah. We'll blow through a couple of other cupcakes. Texas is taking on UTEP. Number 7, Texas is a 41.5-point favorite. And Mississippi State is taking Alcorn State on at home, and there's not even a line on it. It's such a blowout in the making. Then we get into some more SEC play, and this will be a good one. It'll tell us a lot about 2 programs. Arkansas will be at number 17, Ole Miss.
This is a game.
Yeah. Ole Miss is favored by 9.5 points over Arkansas.
They don't think it's going to be a game, huh?
Yeah, but it will be interesting, I think, because these are both 2 teams, I think, who do have some expectations to do better. Obviously, Ole Miss wants to continue the success that they had last year, and Arkansas wants to be on the rise. So, I think if Ole Miss wins this game, kind of everything's to be expected. But if Arkansas beats Ole Miss at Ole Miss, that changes a lot of views on both programs.
For sure.
Another conference game, but this one, the way it's looked so far, shouldn't be very close. LSU is hosting Florida in Death Valley, the number 3 Bengal Tigers are only 6.5-point favorites.
Yeah, that's after what Florida just did. I'm surprised by that. But I guess LSU didn't really impress this week. But I don't know. LSU looks good. It looks better than that spread, honestly. But
out of conference play, but a big game nonetheless. Texas A&M is going to Notre Dame. So A&M is 16th in the country. Notre Dame.
It's a cult off.
It is a cult off. Yes, it's two fan bases that you don't want to hang out with. Notre Dame is a 6.5-point favorite at home over A&M. What I always expect when the SEC big dogs play Notre Dame is that Notre Dame gets run out of the fucking.
Well, at least that's what we hope for.
Yeah, well, it is. I don't have a lot of love for Notre Dame. It reminds me of the national title game. It was at a BCS game. I can't remember where Alabama just fucking blew the pants off Notre Dame. They didn't even belong on the field. I always feel that way about Notre Dame, whether it's true or not. But if A&M wins this on the road, it will be a great big win for them and another reason to be worried as they get closer to us on the schedule.
Yeah, another cupcake.
Eastern Michigan will be at Kentucky, 1-1. Kentucky's a 25.5-point favorite. And then the final game is another SEC game. Well, not the final, the penultimate game. Vanderbilt will be at South Carolina. Now, number 11 in the country is South Carolina. They are favored by 5.5 over Vanderbilt. This is, I think, honestly, a good matchup. And if South Carolina just donkey punches Vanderbilt, then South Carolina's for real, and maybe the Vanderbilt talk has been a little hyped. If Vanderbilt stays in it or even wins this game, I don't know what to think. I mean, it's Vanderbilt is. I mean, obviously they beat Alabama last year, and they have had games where they've
been better of late. But you don't want to. It's hard to trust Vanderbilt.
You can't ever pick when those kind of games are going to arise. You know what I mean?
Well, like I said, you just never know what Vanderbilt's either bad or you're not sure. They're never like, oh, they're great this year. It's either they're bad or we're not sure.
Yeah.
And not sure for them is pretty good. And like last year, it was kind of like, that was a not sure season for them.
Yeah. Are you dog shit or are you Liberty Bowl?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you?
And so we don't know yet if Vanderbilt is dog shit or Liberty Bowl.
But we will find out a little bit into that coming up next weekend. And then the final game, obviously, is Missouri will be hosting Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. Let's see, Missouri is a 25.5-point favorite currently. This will be the sort of final matchup we have before we really do get into the meat and potatoes and SEC schedule with that South Carolina game.
I think you're going to see a Kansas recipe here. I think they're going to just pound Hardy on them for the first half. And
conservative defensive play calling.
Yeah, conservative just in general from all aspects. They're probably going to, what I would hope is they just start throwing out of the gate and get on top of them fast. But what I'm guessing Drinkwitz's going to do is he's going to run Hardy right at him. He's going to pummel him for the first half and soften him up and throw only when he needs to get first downs or, gets behind the chains a little bit. And in the second half, it's just, they're going to bring Jamal Roberts in to run against a black and blue defense that had to deal with Hardy all the first half.
And is sucking oxygen on the sidelines. Yeah. The goal is to win handily and impressively and make sure nobody gets hurt.
Yeah. And obviously have to play all your cards.
Right. And hopefully that won't be the case because I have to think that Louisiana, at the very least, is a downgrade from Kansas. And not, here's the thing that I had forgotten to mention earlier about the Kansas game, Colin, is that rivalry games, you don't know what's going to happen because it gets into players' heads. It gets into everybody's heads. You could feel it in the air. There was a different atmosphere. And in fact, it made me realize how much I had actually missed having a true rivalry game in football because I will agree with Arkansas in that this is a concocted rivalry in the SEC or even the South Carolina, whatever. There's not the kind of the deep-seated animosity that there is for Kansas. There's not the tradition of it. And maybe there never will be. But I think it maybe takes an entire human generation
that's what
to gin it up. But it was there for this. And the players can feel it. And sometimes people get tight and they get tense. And early on with the coughed-up fumble, things like that happen in rivalry games. But our guys did not let that get into their head. They were focused and they gutted out a solid win and just kept battering random.
Rivalries are built of age.
Yeah.
And that's why our rivalry with Kansas is so good is because it's so old. That legacy and and all those things, you can't create them out of whole cloth. It has to be, it's only important because of how old it is, in a way, like whether it's the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants or the Cardinals and the Cubs, pick your rivalry, but none of those rivalries started 3 years ago.
Right.
There's a long storied history. The Yankees and Boston are rivals because they're two giant East Coast cities that have been beating each other up for nearly 200 years.
That's right.
So it's, so at some point, maybe Arkansas will become, at least some portion of what Kansas rivalry is after we've done it for 50 straight fucking years. Arkansas is going to have to start winning some games to make it that way.
And who knows what the future of college football is even going to look like from the conference standpoint. But yeah, this was special. Even the Kansas people who, watched their team lose, I think they were into it. You know what I mean? Like that, they were part of it. They hate Missouri. We hate them. We were at a tailgate across from the stadium, and there was a group of students trying to get in early because they're smashing in because it's just all those northern entrances are blocked out. So it's just fucking sardines. And every time a group, like a family with Kansas shirts came on, fuck you, go back to Kansas, piece of shit. I mean, just you really shouldn't take your kids to this game.
It's a game. Rivalries are games where it's almost forgivable for being awful.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't, especially Missouri and just Midwestern fans in general, probably, South Carolina or the Ragin' Cajuns or whoever you're playing is not going to experience that level of vitriol from a Mizzou fan base. They're going to be a lot more, cordial for the most part, but it's the one game where you're allowed to just be like your worst self.
That's right. Because
there's so few opportunities in life where you're just allowed to be the worst version of yourself.
Which is why I feel like the Philadelphia Phillies, Karen, I'm sure you're familiar with her, man. I feel like the guy could have decked her. He could have, he could have just poured his beer on her head and been his worst self because she was such a fucking cunt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like universally, just everything, her look, her demeanor, what she did, everything about her was just like, the whole world hates that person.
Yeah.
And so
I find myself feeling sorry for her because she deserves to be publicly humiliated, but it is reaching a level that is like fever pitch.
It is, but one thing I know about internet shit is in 2 days it will be almost fucking forgotten and gone. I mean, do you even remember the Coldplay CEO?
I don't even know what you're fucking talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, I think she definitely deserves public and national ridicule, and then for it to just sort of fade away, and then she will, for the rest of her life, have to somebody be like, "Hey, you're Philly Karen. You're Philly Karen. Can I get a picture with you,
like
Philly
Bart
Karen?"
Man for the Cubs.
Yeah. So, she'll live with that forever, a little bit, but just a little bit is right. So, anyway, we are looking ahead to yet another home game. We got 6 in a row. Never happened before, but Louisiana coming to town. Colin, it's a good game to have after a rivalry game because even if you sort of have a letdown game, it shouldn't matter too much.
Yeah. I think it's if everything goes to plan by the second half, you got your bench players are in mop-up duty.
Mm-hmm. And we talked a little bit.
Maybe Zollers get some snaps.
Who knows? Yeah.
And I don't think that would be a bad thing because the way Pribula's playing, there is no quarterback controversy.
Right.
I always felt like Drinkowitz was very, very purposefully not even giving Sam Horn snaps towards the end of games just for the fear that he'd complete a couple passes and look good.
Yeah.
And just sort of
open up the bag of worms.
Open that can of worms. I feel like you can give Zoller snaps in this game and nobody's going to be like, dude, he should be starting over Pribula.
Right. No, I don't think that's going to happen. So, we want to get right. We want to, obviously, I think everybody's waiting just like Tuesday for the press conference to see if anybody's hurt that we don't know about.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned because I was at the game. And when you're at the game, you're experiencing everything in a really exciting way, but you don't get sort of the inside dope that you get when you're just watching on TV. Like somebody goes out, goes to the injury tent. You don't know. But so I was concerned and texting like Colin. I was like, hey, is Hardy hurt? Because Roberts is doing great, but Hardy ain't in anymore. Yeah. And Colin's like, I think there was a strategy, pound them hard early and let Roberts clean up and
everybody runs slower with bruises all over their body.
Mm-hmm. So Jamal Roberts is fucking fast.
Yeah.
And he did. He outran everybody on that defense to get that last touchdown. It was wonderful. So hopefully everybody's healthy and will stay healthy going into the South Carolina game. But we're just reveling in it, having another drink, celebrating one of the great weekends of Missouri football as we extend our lifetime lead over the Jayhawks in the border war. And now for the awards segment of the show, we have 2 that we give out each and every week, and I think we have good nominees in both cases this week, Colin. Let's start out with the TJ Moe Douche of the Week.
Douche of the Week.
So Colin and I had discussed this quite a bit when we were trying to come up with award nominees. There was some random Kansas podcast who was trashing Faurot Field, saying how it wasn't an intimidating atmosphere and it just wasn't a good college football venue.
But they're a bunch of nobodies.
I couldn't even find them. They're just a fucking lowly podcast in somebody's basement, unlike this great podcast that you're listening to.
In someone's basement.
Yeah, in someone's basement. Actually, the basement of Faurot Field is 1 mile below Faurot Field in our secret bunker.
That's true.
Anyway, but the choice became pretty clear, I think, Colin.
Yeah, Bill Belichick. Wow.
Yeah. So Bill Belichick has had an interesting start to his college football coaching career at age, 73?
Yeah.
The thing that he did douchey this week, I think, was that he discussed in his press conference how he had banned all New England Patriots scouts from his facilities. And the rationale,
just petty.
The rationale being that if I'm not allowed to go onto their facilities, then they can't come onto mine. Which is,
do former employees get to hang out where they used to work a lot?
Yeah. And Bill, it's not just New England Patriots that hate you and don't want you around. It's the entire NFL. You're a horrible person. And as long as you were winning fucking Super Bowls with Tom Brady, everybody tolerated you. But when you stopped, no one wants to be around. It's like Barry Bonds in baseball, Colin. There's a reason he's not coaching. Barry Bonds loves baseball, would love to coach. Nobody will have him. He's a fucking asshole. Everybody knows that Barry Bonds is one of the biggest assholes to ever have walked the earth. Bill Belichick, right there.
Yeah. And it strikes me as strange because it's like, hey, these players would like to be scouted by professional football teams if you could work that into your petty schedule, Bill.
Yeah. I don't know that that's going to help you and be like, hey, you know how all these NFL scouts come and make you millionaires, make your dreams come true? I'm going to limit it just a little bit, make it a little harder for you than everybody else. How's that sound?
Yeah. But I think what really, the whole girlfriend thing is so strange. And I think initially we had talked about it in like a show and we're like, hey, man, if you could, you would kind of thing. But it's like, yeah, I guess if you're living in the, who was the LSU's coach?
Ed Ogeron.
If you're doing it like Ed Ogeron, who is just like, hey, I can get top shelf trim and I'm going to have some of that.
And he does, I would say Ed, usually it's pretty age appropriate for him, which makes things a little bit more tolerable for a lot of folks. But yeah, exactly.
But my point is
live
like
your life, man.
Ed Ogeron knows what he's up to. You know?
Yeah.
We're like, and I thought that's what Bill Belichick was up. But I feel like this is an old man being led around by a young girl. Like this is just a woman taking advantage of people.
This is what makes his relationship more interesting than
she's involved in like his day to day.
Yeah, well, not just involved. Like when he did that interview. And she was like right there saying curating what they can and can't talk about. And then week 1, they saw her on the sidelines, dolled up, not like in the North Carolina jacket or anything, just like she's going out to the club and then like rubbing his back and
going
like
out
talking
like
to him.
Fixing his shirt or something for him. He's on the sideline.
Asking him for 20 so she could buy some popcorn.
Well, and the crazy thing to me is I feel like the Bill Belichick I grew up knowing would have backhanded a person for touching him.
Yeah.
And this child is coming up and like adjusting his shirt on.
That's insane. What I want to be like, Bill, blink twice if she's keeping you against your will.
If any of you have rich parents who got remarried to some gold digging whore, that's what this feels like. Like that stepmom you hate. Bill Belichick is the guy being taken advantage of. Like she's trying to like copyright the term gold digger.
Yeah, if your stepmom is 15 years younger than you, you know what we're talking about. But it is weird because he doesn't ever, nothing about Belichick would ever strike you as somebody who would be led around by anybody.
Yeah.
And then like those Instagram posts, you remember when this whole thing started and he was like on the beach and taking like posed Instagram. First of all, he didn't know what fucking Instagram was. And I think when he found out that was out in the public world, he was fucking furious, but not so furious that he straightened things out. No. Yeah. It looks like she's leading him around by the nose.
This is a guy who was willing to stare down Tom Brady and Robert Kraft, when making decisions about a professional football organization.
Millions and billions of dollars.
But is being cowed by a woman who is clearly a fucking complete gold-digging fraud. Just a...
And not to, Bill Belichick is a soulless fraud as well. The reason he is with her because he's not looking for company. He's looking for eye candy, a trophy. You know what I mean? They're equally shitheads.
Yeah, they deserve each other, no doubt. But I just feel like if Bill Belichick sort of already wasn't taking a hit in the reputation department just on a football level, he kind of, the Patriot thing fell off and nobody wanted to hire him. And so they were...
And takes this left turn higher to North Carolina.
Well, but this makes me lose respect for him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like at first he was just a coach who maybe had lost his fastball. Now it's like you're literally being led around by the nose by a child.
Well, but here's the thing about the Bill Belichick's and Robert Kraft. Remember Robert Kraft and his hooker gate or whatever?
He liked hand jobs.
Yeah. And who's going to fall for that?
Certainly not me.
But the guys like that who are so rich and so powerful, they don't give a fuck fuck if you respect them or not. They're like going to drag around a 24-year-old girlfriend and they don't care how many
people point. But I feel like in most of the circumstances, though, they're the one taking advantage of a 24-year-old. I feel like a 24-year-old is taking advantage of people.
Must be some good pussy.
Let's move on.
Come on. All right, let's go on to our next award. Obviously, this is the important one. The Kirk Farmer's Hair Player of the Game.
Spun gold, Brennan. Spun gold. That's what that man had on his head. Luxurious locks of beautiful, beautiful hair.
Flaxen wheat.
Yes. And so we've named this award for it because the player who wins this award exemplifies that sort of wonderful beauty
and excellence.
And who's this going to be this week?
This will be fun to talk about. Obviously, Pribula was the standout candidate for the award last week.
Sure was. This is an award that a quarterback's almost always going to win if a quarterback's playing well.
Right, and he did play well.
You got to give honorable mentions to Norfleet, to Hardy, to Roberts.
Beyond honorable mention. Obviously, Roberts iced the game. Hardy played his ass off. Norfleet had two of the biggest catches in the game. This really could be awarded to anybody, particularly on the offensive side of the ball.
But the straw that stirred the drink
was Bo.
Yeah, Bono's Pribula.
I do want to say, with all that, one of the great players on the field that day was this new friend of the Mizzodcast that we're learning and maybe going to have a show, Carter Array. I may be pronouncing that wrong, but we'll find out soon enough. The guy who kicked the ball at the Kansas sideline.
Is he the player of the game?
Well, I think he gets an honorable mention.
Sure. He didn't actually play in the game, so technically we can't give it to him.
He kicked a ball on the field during the game. You can't tell me he wasn't a player on that game, right? So, and if not even for kicking the ball at the Kansas sideline, but for painting FKU on your shirt and then proudly boasting that all around. I can't wait to interview him, Colin, because there are all these questions. I want them cleared up. Yeah. So anyway, I think Bo is obviously the top candidate. Yep. You look at the numbers he's put up. His completion percentage alone,
78% right now.
Yeah, it's like I'm not looking at the numbers, but something like 30 for 34 in this game.
Yeah,
and equally good last week. He just seems so poised.
He's so accurate. I think that is the most surprising thing about him is that he came to us with a reputation of being like this running, scrambling quarterback. And sometimes that just sort of is naturally you think, well, they're going to be, well, again, I hate to throw shade at Brady Cook, but Brady Cook was a guy who was sort of, his legs were what made him special. And he could also throw a little. But Pribula, his arm looks better than his legs, and he still has the legs, but his arm, the accuracy is just that I'm not even going to try to pronounce our freshman wide receiver's name. It's not going to happen.
Give it a try, Colin.
Obulgwe. It's like they're recruiting intentionally to to because of my difficulty.
We had Albert O before for this very reason. They're recruiting just because they don't like Colin. And they know he's not going to be able to pronounce these names. But yes, making some
that
tall
catch
fucking
was
catches.
insane. But you know what also was insane? The throw.
Yeah.
And the he hit for a couple of third and fourth down conversions. The throw to Coleman on the conversion. He had one to Norfleet. That touchdown he threw, the first one to Norfleet. I mean, he whistled it in there in a place where only our guy could catch it. And
it was bookended by defenders.
Yeah, it was the confidence it takes to make that throw, the accuracy. I mean, it's why I'm so excited.
And we went for it on fourth down a lot, and we were very successful, and it wasn't always fourth and inches.
Well, and I think there was an argument to be made that, like, hey, we don't trust the kicker, so that's why we're going up for more, and maybe that was a good thing. But part of it makes me think, again, like we discussed earlier in the show, that, Drinkwitz thinks he's driving a Ferrari for the first time here. And so he's like, maybe it's the kicker, or maybe it's just because he's like, I think we can convert these now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they have so far. So, Bo Pribula, 2 weeks in a row, you're going to do it. Give him the Kirk Farmer's Hair Player of the Game award. So,
congratulations.
Enjoy the golden locks. All right, Colin, I won't say we have a breather. Obviously, anything can happen in the world of college football, but certainly not the intensity of the rivalry border war game that we had this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Next week in Louisiana should be, knock on wood, everything goes right, going into the South Carolina game 3-0 and probably nationally ranked in both polls at that point, I would assume, as is South Carolina. It's going to be a big matchup for us. We're going to have to, count, slowly drag our feet and wait for that 2 weeks period to pass. But that South Carolina game, it's I can feel it building already. But get through Louisiana, get through healthy, get through strong, and Missouri's in a good position to have a pretty fun season.
Yep. So I guess follow us on TikTok and Twitters and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if you want to give us money, we like money.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I can't think of anything at this point. No, I mean, I'm just looking forward to college football season really, really getting underway and seeing a good Missouri Tigers team that we're actually pretty excited about.
I think we're for real. I think, listen, if you buy in because of this podcast, video, whatever, if you buy in because of the speech I have made and it all falls apart, I'm sorry. But God darn it, I'm just going to put my heart out there. And if it gets broken, it gets broken. But damn it, I'm going to live.
We'll know in 2 weeks if what we're talking about has any legs. So anyway, until then, MIZ.
ZOU.